This program contains material of a disturbing nature. Viewer discretion is advised. The family is enjoying a camping trip along the Central California coast.
It's a bit of a rocky beach, and Paul and I took a little exploratory walk. He was not really paying attention to where he was going. There was a rock at least 18 inches tall sticking out. He actually tripped over it and really scraped his knee. Blood was trickling down his leg. No one likes to see their child bleeding, but it was just not out of the ordinary at all.
So Ken takes Paul over to Rachel.
His knee was bleeding quite a bit, so I grabbed the first aid kit and I wiped it off with an antiseptic wipe and then put a bandage over it. Paul was in pain, and I think the blood probably freaked him out a little bit. But I wasn't too concerned because he is an active boy and little scrapes and bumps and bruises happen all the time.
For a week, Rachel and Ken treat the wound on Paul's knee.
One day, we were changing the bandage, and it just didn't seem to be healing. It didn't turn into a scab, just kept seeping and seeping.
It was still pink and kind of raw. It was not getting any smaller.
I said, well, maybe it just needs to air dry so it could scab over. I was just leaving it alone, keeping it clean and dry.
A couple days later, Ken puts Paul back on his feet.
I took Paul ice skating at the local ice rink. But he fell within the first few minutes of being on the ice, on the same spot where he had the wound.
Ken takes Paul to the locker room to get a better look.
He was crying. The blood completely engulfed his Band-Aid. I definitely felt guilty.
Sorry, buddy.
And I thought maybe I shouldn't have taken him skating at all. It was just bleeding so much, we had to stop and go home and take care of it.
At home, Ken dresses the reopened wound.
We went straight to the bathroom. It was bleeding. The Band-Aids just fall off and they get soaked with blood. I was looking through the cabinet trying to find something, and I noticed that we did have some liquid bandage.
Liquid bandage is a topical skin adhesive that prevents bleeding and seals up a wound.
I made sure it looked very, very clean and then applied the liquid bandage over top of it. Paul was definitely very uncomfortable and put up a little bit of a fight, but it really seemed like it was working. It was an extra layer of skin. It was probably the answer to help this wound heal.
The next morning, Ken heads to work early, and Rachel goes to wake up Paul.
I went into Paul's bedroom, and he was complaining about his knee. When I looked at it, it had swollen to the size of a large orange. It was pretty frightening to see that.
Rachel encourages Paul to get up.
Paul couldn't really put a lot of weight on his knee. He was limping. He was in discomfort, for sure. That was definitely cause for alarm.
His mother, Rachel, rushes him to urgent care.
We're sitting there in the doctor's office. The doctor came in, and I explained what had happened and how Paul's knee was red and swollen. But the doctor got very agitated about the fact that there was liquid bandage on it. I didn't know that Ken had put that on his knee. The doctor said that when you have an open wound, you have to let it have air. The minute that you cut off the oxygen supply, if there's any kind of bacteria in there, you're just leaving it to fester. He said, well, we need to get that off immediately. So he sent Paul to the nurse to take off the liquid bandage. I was really blaming Ken. The knee never looked that bad, and it was never infected.
I did not deserve the Dad of the Year award that day.
Once the liquid bandage is removed, the doctor examines the wound.
He took a look at the knee. He touched it at that point just to feel how swollen it was. And the knee was very hot to the touch. He said this could potentially be MRSA.
MRSA stands for methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. It is caused by the staph bacteria, and as the name suggests, it's resistant to many antibiotics.
The doctor was concerned that you're dealing with something that's very, very difficult to treat. I was getting pretty worked up at that point.
I obviously made a mistake putting on the liquid bandage. It was pretty scary.
The doctor prescribes a combination of antibiotics for MRSA.
I came home from work and Paul was complaining about his knee again. I was kneeling down and looking at his wound, and it does not look good at all. I saw that the skin had broken. The wound is completely black. There was something weird going on with this black stuff under his skin. It was green with pus, about the size of a dime around the wound. And I was just thinking, oh no, it must be gangrene.
Gangrene occurs when blood stops flowing to body tissue. In severe cases, the only way to remove the gangrenous tissue is through amputation.
Paul could lose a leg. It was very scary to have that be a possibility for my son. I knew I was going to take him to the emergency room, but I just couldn't stop looking at the wound. I decided I need to get this pus out of the way. I don't care if the doctor said, leave the wound alone, don't drain it. I'm going to the emergency room anyway, so I'm just going to squeeze all the pus out of it. I said, Paul, just hold still and let me see what is going on here. But he was squirming. He didn't want me to touch it.
But Rachel proceeds.
I just took my 2 fingers and pushed together, and out came some pus. And also came out this large, pretty big black object out of his knee. We were just both shocked. I thought it was a rock or something, but whatever it was, it just came right out in one piece.
And this object has a peculiar characteristic.
I'm peering at this object, and it just has a strange look about it. And then I realized it's not a rock, it has whorls on it. And I turn it over, and I think I might have even just laughed out loud. I said, Paul, this is a snail. It's a freaking snail.